Chapter 8: Measuring Customer-Centricity. How do we track the impact of good or better CX, or how customer-centric we are? You're already doing some of that. You have leading indicators which measure activities and outcomes that are relatively early in the customer lifecycle. You have lagging indicators, which are metrics that show later results and outcomes, often around revenue and profit. You have survey results, tweets, customer support tickets, app reviews, and other voice of the customer data. There are more things that we could measure, but our metrics and related outcomes are only as good as the metrics we are focused on, data collection methods and tools, data honesty, is the data manipulated to tell a particular story, and actions taken in response to data and feedback. 4 stages of customer-centric metrics maturity. When it comes to the focus of our metrics, companies often progress through stages of metrics maturity. It's a spectrum with 4 key stops along the way. Stage 1, only tracking business metrics. Numbers of customers gained and lost, revenue, spending, and ROI. Metrics related to customers go as far as how often could we make how many customers do a thing we wanted them to do? Mailing list subscriptions, time on a page, clicking a specific button, and repeat purchases. Stage 1 companies are not measuring anything that would indicate quality or success from the customer's perspectives. Metrics measure business goals and successes. Stage 2, tracking business metrics and some customer metrics, but only caring about business metrics. If the voice of the customer data or survey scores show that customers have a lot of complaints, we find ways to rationalize or ignore those. We might manipulate and mold our data to tell a more palatable story. We add and average figures that shouldn't be added or averaged, and we announce that what we're doing is good enough for customers. It doesn't matter if most of our app ratings in the last year are 1 or 2 stars. Our average in the App Store for the last 6 years is 4.4. Good enough. Stage 3, tracking business and customer metrics, caring about both, and acting on both. We have appropriate business and customer metrics, and we accurately track all metrics. We report honestly on them without fuzzy math and junk science. When metrics reflect that something is going wrong, we get the right teams to investigate root causes and improve our understanding of the issue before we rush to imagine solutions. We might continue to use vanity metrics such as how many people joined our email mailing list, but we take more customer-centric actions, including removing pop-ups no customer wants. Improving desired business metrics shouldn't come at the expense of the customer experience. Stage 4, adjusting business metrics based on customer intelligence and knowledge of customers' needs, contexts, and tasks. When we recognize that we push teams to create or optimize the PSE in customer peripheral directions, we re-examine and change our KPIs. When we realize that our more page views metric forces project teams to create inefficient user experiences to drive up the page views metric, we re-evaluate that metric and adjust or replace it. End of list. Metrics around customer centricity will show where we are customer peripheral and how we are improving or possibly getting worse. The maturity stages remind us that poor or customer peripheral KPIs or goals can manifest in our projects and PSE. This chapter focuses on various metrics that you can try to measure customer centricity internally and externally. Short-term wins, long-term carnage. In my article, Your CX and UX Metrics Are Myopic, weblink cxcc.to/A148, I looked at the dangers of measuring short-term wins as we often see in A/B testing. We might be testing a minor change and want to see if people spend more, convert more, or whatever metric we value. We see that lift, call the test a success, and we go more or entirely in on the winner. Do we measure this metric in the longer term or across the longer end-to-end customer journey? The customer's experience doesn't stop when they check out or do that one thing you hope they will do. There are actions, subtasks, repercussions, and consequences that can happen later. What if your winning A/B test variant created higher value purchases but led to more complaints, angry tweets, or requests for refunds? Is that variant still the winner? What if your B variant saw higher conversions but the customers coming through that variant were less likely to purchase again later? What if people moving through your B variant are doing more of what you want them to do, but are giving you lower NPS or satisfaction scores? These can all be measured, but we rarely measure them initially or check for correlation or causation later. Anything you measure should be monitored over a longer period and longer customer journey arc. If your short-term metric winner has a negative ripple effect on a longer-term metric, we should be smart enough to watch for that possibility before we declare a variant the winner. Types of task-based experience metrics. MeasuringU.com offers a good breakdown of types of task-based experience metrics. Web link: cxcc.to/A120. 1. Action metrics based on the ISO definition of usability. These include completion rate, findability rate, time on task, time until failure, the number of clicks or page views required to complete a task, and the number of errors. 2. Attitudinal metrics. These include self-assessments of confidence and ease of use. 3. Behavioral and psychological metrics. These include eye tracking, facial expressions, skin responses, and heart rate. These metrics often require special equipment and specially trained experts to plan, conduct, and analyze these studies. 4. Combined metrics. MeasuringU has a category for combining attitudinal with behavioral. Examples include how learnable something is, how lost someone is when looking for information, an efficiency ratio, percentage of successful task completions divided by the mean completion rate, and disasters, where a participant fails a task but still has high confidence that they were successful. All of these are worth consideration. Many are quantitative and survey-based. Remember to augment quantitative measurements with qualitative information so that you can understand behaviors, perceptions, contexts, and further details. Action metrics, such as completion rate, should not be considered in isolation. A customer completing their task does not mean that it was completed efficiently, without errors, or with high satisfaction. Action and attitudinal metrics should be tracked and interpreted relative to other metrics about the same task. North Star metrics. Your North Star metric, NSM, should match essential business and user goals. It measures the quality and value we deliver to users, which should lead to business growth and success. Some well-known companies have been open about their North Star metrics. Here are some that were made public in 2021. Spotify, time spent listening. Amazon, number of purchases per month. Airbnb, number of nights booked. Quora, numbers of answers to questions. Uber, rides per week. Notice that these are leading metrics. They are upfront customer actions. They are not the results or outcomes from actions such as revenue or profit. You can also see this as measuring customers' task success through this main number. Before someone gets a Quora question or plays a song on Spotify, there are things we can measure, like the number of questions asked or the number of songs people searched for. Those are input metrics, actions or parameters we can measure, but they aren't the true mark of user success. Uber might measure how many rides are requested each week, a decent input metric, but a percentage of these will be canceled by the driver or the passenger. Measuring completed rides measures the accomplishment of the customer's task. Getting an answer to a Quora question and listening to Spotify music are good North Star metrics since they indicate user success. We can measure them and create innovations or incremental improvements that can lift these metrics. They are also tied to business success because if Quora users get answers and Spotify users listen to music, we will probably meet or exceed business goals. Slack's North Star metric is active users. At first, this seems like an input metric, but Slack charges per active user. Therefore, they use a North Star metric around behavior, how many people actively use a Slack workspace, but it will also directly lead to revenue in paid Slack workspaces. Notice that none of these North Star metrics is number of features shipped in a certain amount of time. The North Star metric and most KPIs should be about moments where customers experience quality, value, and success. Customers rarely think about our team's velocity, but they are haunted by crappy PSE. Make sure we are focused on delivering quality over speed. Optimizing for customer peripheral KPIs. If the North Star metric is a mismatch to customers' tasks, perspectives, and needs, it can cause customer periphery. We will also need to track how KPIs and OKRs manifest in team behavior and the PSE. This tracking isn't another metric. This is part of governance. Many companies are under pressure to produce increases in quarterly or annual growth, revenue, traction, and adoption. This can make some teams desperate. They choose deceptive designs, ethically questionable decisions, and shoot for metrics like how long someone stayed on a screen, rather than the quality of that customer's experience on that screen, or how well the customer was able to accomplish their tasks. We see this very often when our KPIs are around engagement. The customer doesn't want more engagement. They want to get something done and get out of there. When we understand that people are task-based, we recognize that more time spent on a page may indicate CX problems that we should research and fix. An exception could be social, written, or visual media, where the task might be to pass the time or be entertained. The user still has tasks to accomplish, but efficiency might not be a key criterion and time may be flexible. Imagine a dating site or app. We could say that how often people search through profiles is engagement. If frequent searches are a step toward task accomplishment, but are not the moment or indicator of success, then search frequency is more likely to be an input metric and shouldn't be a KPI or North Star metric. We could measure how many people liked you, how often we notified you about new local members, and the views your profile received. Those are nice input metrics, but they measure activity or engagement without measuring success or quality. Teams under pressure to lift such engagement metrics might try to gamify likes or increase the frequency of new member notifications. These run the risk of being annoying or distracting, especially if we find that they do not match customers' definitions of value, quality, or success. If you've ever thought, why do they keep showing me that screen or pop-up? Or, why are they trying to make me do this other thing I don't want to do? You've experienced how KPIs play out in real life. For example, Facebook's North Star metric is active users. Given this, their system might welcome fake accounts and bots. They want those active user numbers to look big and growing. Teams might deliberately make it complex or difficult for users to delete or cancel Facebook. What about measuring more time in our dating ecosystem? That's a nice input metric, but not a metric of customer or business success. More time might mean that users are having trouble finding a good match and therefore a sign of failure. How about measuring the number of matches we send a user? This KPI might lead teams to build features that send you as many humans as possible each week, regardless of the quality of those matches. While some people are into quantity on a dating website, most look for quality. But if the quantity metric were our KPI, our teams might cook up features like ignoring your search filters or designating people with vastly different views and lifestyles a match. You could see a rise in metrics, usage, or engagement, but is this the right rise? Are we creating customer value, success, and satisfaction? Sidebar. Example: OkCupid removed a feature. I met my husband on OkCupid in April 2017. He saw my profile, decided I lived too far away, and didn't write to me. At the time, OkCupid offered a list of people who saw your profile but didn't take action. I was checking that list for any exciting matches who were shy. I hit the life and love jackpot. Months later, OkCupid removed that page because if anybody saw your profile and didn't contact you, they're obviously not interested and just a waste of time. What KPI did OkCupid have that made the list of people who saw you but didn't take action something to get rid of? How many people missed out on meeting their shy but perfect person? End of sidebar. Figure 16. Screenshot from my YouTube comments where 3 different people posted, quote, trending adult porn videos only, end quote, and a URL. YouTube is smart enough to recognize porn spam comments, especially those containing the word porn. But YouTube rarely auto-deletes these comments or holds them for moderation. Which YouTuber would want these comments to appear under their videos? Which KPIs exist that make YouTube not auto-delete such comments? Number of comments per video? There are a variety of metrics that are often goals but are probably no longer the correct targets at which to aim efforts. Consider where some of these are input metrics but shouldn't be our KPIs or North Star metric. 1. Clicks, views, and shares. These do not help our business strategies and desired outcomes unless we live and die by advertising and we need to show more page views. Likes and shares are vanity metrics that don't keep us in business. These can be lovely OKRs, but metrics that aren't meaningful, actionable, and accomplishing tangible goals shouldn't be KPIs. 2. Session duration, average time on pages, and pages per visit. Do we want people to spend more time on our screens or less time? Does more time mean they were engaged or having trouble getting things done? Can we shift these goals to shoot for shorter times when task-related and longer times when content-related, such as blog posts? 3. Page views. Teams might build processes and workflows that span more pages than necessary. Rather than building an efficient process that happens on one page, or just simpler and more efficient processes, you are dragged across multiple pages. Heck, maybe even the login is on its own page, so we can count one more page view this month. Figure 17. Screenshot from Morgan Stanley's login flow. The only words on the page say, "We'll need to verify your identity to log in." Your only action is a continue button. The page before required my username and password. There were 4 pages after this to complete the login, including text me a code and verify the code we sent, being 2 separate pages. High page views appear to be a KPI. 4. You might also see these slow-motion, dragged-out processes if our KPI is more time on pages or in the system. If pages load slowly, that might be acceptable or even a win, since we celebrate when people are on pages for longer periods of time. 5. email open rates, or click rates. These metrics may have low value since they are unlikely to signal revenue or business goals accomplished. To increase the value of these metrics, see if they can be accurately correlated to something that makes or saves the business money. 6. New or total mailing list subscribers or social media followers. These are especially unimpressive if you mainly grow your mailing list because you force people onto it or add people without their knowledge. These metrics are also meaningless if you buy followers. Unsubscribes and unfollows can undo these metrics. 7. Leads in the pipeline. You might find sales doing some strange things to show more leads, even if they are poor leads unlikely to convert. That makes the numbers, but is a waste of time. A better metric might be how many proposals you send. Perhaps you tend to win 30% of the proposals you submit, so the KPI or North Star metric might be to submit more proposals and keep watching your percentage of success. End of list. Using our dating site example, a strong North Star metric might be the number of messages members send each other. Like Spotify wants to measure listening time and Uber wants to measure the number of rides, a dating site may find that a critical metric leading to success and revenue is people messaging each other. Want to dial that up and really check for quality in both directions? How about a North Star metric around the number of messages that receive more than one reply? Anybody can send a message. Anybody can get a single reply, even if that reply is "no thanks" or "please go away." Perhaps that conversation doesn't go beyond the first message. Perhaps one person blocks the other. Additional replies could signify a good match and potential connection between humans. This gets us closer to dating site success without measuring obvious things like revenue. The number of message interactions that don't end within 48 hours with one user blocking the other signals quality and success in customers' experiences. The key will be to make sure that our teams don't specifically design features that push or trick people into more messaging solely to lift metrics. Another good metric is the number of support tickets that could have been self-service, which is a number we would want to see decrease over time. Customers hate contacting your support center to do easy things like changing their phone numbers. Improving PSE to allow customers to handle easy or everyday tasks themselves is a win-win. Users take care of their problems, hopefully easily and intuitively, and support spends less time on tickets that don't need an agent's assistance. KPIs that aren't leading and aren't about customer success can be okay if they are unlikely to be manipulated or drive devious behavior. One example is cost per acquisition. We want that cost to go down, which means that it takes less marketing and reduced sales efforts to win new customers. Sidebar: Glovo's October 2022 incident. 26-year-old Sebastian Galassi was killed in Italy in October 2022 while making a moped delivery for the Spanish company Glovo. He collided with an SUV and was run over by another car. Weblink from Wired, Italian version, cxcc.to/A174. He died the next day in the hospital, the same day he received an automated text message that he never saw. In that message, Glovo fired him for not adhering to their terms and conditions. The company's system noticed that Sebastian missed the delivery deadline, triggering him to be deactivated, essentially fired. We can understand that Glovo would want to inspire, if not pressure, their delivery staff to complete tasks in the shortest time possible. But with rising numbers of accidents and deaths, at what cost? Glovo is not alone. Delivery services worldwide are controversial for the same reasons, including their treatment of their gig economy workers. It would be smarter to balance speed with safety. This is ultimately a service design project that should include a serious review of KPIs. Internal questions and conversations should address 1. Speed or delivery time as the main KPI might inspire people to ride or drive more recklessly, endangering themselves or others, especially if their job is on the line. 2. If the technology can consider the route and transportation method, what is a short but reasonable range of time in which someone can safely make the delivery? 3. How can Glovo ensure that nothing in the CX of either side of their marketplace is heartless or seeming to devalue human life? The automated text message firing of a dead man came off as cold and tone-deaf. 4. Can account termination include a step where a human reviews the account before automated firing? 5. Does the technology count the delivery time starting when the food is ready to be picked up or when it's ordered? The delivery person should not be penalized for a slow or disorganized restaurant. 6. Consider all of your customers and staff, especially in a two-sided marketplace and the gig economy. The person who placed the order that Sebastian died trying to deliver might deal with guilt or other tough emotions. Did anybody from Glovo reach out to them and not just with a "sorry your order didn't arrive, here's a coupon"? 7. Glovo apologized for the automated firing and offered to pay for part of Sebastian's funeral. Is paying for part of the funeral the best Glovo can do right now? Even if Glovo hypothetically believes its delivery staff are a revolving door of replaceable contractors, what are the best policies and procedures Glovo can create to make it seem like they care about drivers who are hurt or killed during their work? End of sidebar. When customer-centricity shortens the relationship. Businesses like dating websites and job boards might struggle more than the average company with North Star metrics and KPIs. The faster a user has true success, the less they need our PSE. If you are hired for a new job after only one application, or if you find your life partner after seeing only a few dating profiles, you might be done, at least for now, with the job or dating website. This can often lead companies down unethical and customer-peripheral paths as they attempt to extend usage or increase interactions. You might hear that we need to find more ways to make our PSE sticky or addictive. In these cases, you are playing a longer PSE and brand game. Customer success might mean a shorter initial relationship with the customer, but could lead to more positive and frequent word-of-mouth, ratings, and reviews. This is the pinnacle of influencer marketing. We didn't pay anybody to broadcast or share that they like our PSE or company. Being the customer's number one choice if and when they need us again. Someone who likes their current job or partner might not stay with either forever. A happy customer might find other tasks they can accomplish within our PSE. Someone who loved finding a romantic partner on our dating website might wonder if the site is also a great place to make new, like-minded friends. Thanks to our job website, someone who got hired might think of us first the next time they need to post a job. If your business is a two-sided marketplace, fast and efficient success for one party will likely be fast and efficient success for the other party. While metrics around frequency or retention might be lower, you should see higher satisfaction scores and lower costs related to serving your customers. Sidebar: quick fix versus slow fix, bad KPIs or North Star metric. I have seen executives who were aware that they were measuring the wrong things or that KPIs were creating bizarre or unethical behaviors in their teams. I have seen these execs decide that new KPIs were needed and announce that KPIs would be changing. In many cases, the exec already knew the exact KPIs they wanted to use. So why weren't these better KPIs in place already? Why were they still a promise of the future? The slow fix is to wait until new PSE features are in place that would most precisely measure the new KPIs. I saw one company create a dependency where the new KPIs were unlikely to be official and the harmful KPI downgraded to an input metric until they had built and released a new B2B platform. This looked like it would take over a year, possibly 2 years, and they said they were agile. A better quick fix is to start experimenting with the new KPIs, knowing that how they will be measured is a work in progress. We might not yet have access to our ideal data, but what data can we get? What can we start learning through well-designed surveys? What can our analytics tools show? Are there any proxies that make sense? Once we know that we have a KPI or North Star metric that is customer peripheral or influencing teams to do desperate, manipulative, or deceptive things, it's important to run with our quick fix. Continue evolving how and what you measure. Is NPS customer-centric? Net Promoter Score, NPS, is a single survey question asking on a scale of 0 to 10 how likely you are to recommend a company to someone else. Respondents are put into buckets by the score they give. Detractors score from 0 to 6. Passives score 7 or 8. Promoters score 9 or 10. NPS is calculated by selecting a range of time and then following this formula. Percent of promoters minus percent of detractors equals NPS. Passives are not part of the equation. For example, 60% promoters minus 30% detractors is an NPS of 30. 30% promoters minus 60% detractors is an NPS of negative 30. NPS ranges from negative 100 to positive 100. NPS surveys rarely ask if you have already recommended us to someone else or to how many people. We have no idea if respondents will recommend us even if they give us a score of 10. We don't know if they are satisfied. We don't know what's going wrong. We only know that they are scoring themselves on the possible future likelihood of recommending us. NPS can be an acceptable method when matched with knowledge and action. We will need to pair it with qualitative research to learn more about why we got a particular score and what we can do to improve things. NPS on its own often isn't actionable beyond raising unanswered questions, leaving us to plan the research that will answer them. Companies misuse NPS in a variety of ways, including NPS is just a number in a report. Everybody hopes it looks better next quarter. Low scores are rationalized or excused. Maybe that's normal for our industry. Maybe our competitors have similar scores. Companies with low, even negative NPS believe that if we can win business at this low NPS, maybe we're good enough. We want to raise the NPS, but we don't plan to fix or improve the PSE problems discovered in customer feedback or surveys. It appears that we only care about our score, but not why we have that score. I saw an online discussion forum post from someone who knew why their NPS was low, admitted that their company didn't plan to fix known root causes, but wanted others in the forum to suggest ways they can improve NPS. The best way to improve NPS will always be to show that you care about customer experiences and satisfaction by taking customer-centric action. Yes, some PSE changes are large and expensive projects. Are those projects more or less expensive than low NPS, unhappy customers, negative word of mouth, and attrition? End of list. NPS fans often interpret high scores as a sign of satisfaction or loyalty, But are they? 100% of our current customers are susceptible to competitive offerings. People who score us a 10 might cancel and move to a competitor. Someone will jump at a lower price or when our competitor improves what they offer. Some are happy but are checking other options. People are loyal until they're not. For those who love NPS, you can measure the NPS at various points of the journey. I heard about a company where NPS was close to 50, a decent score, when customers first signed the contract. When it was time to renew the contract, the NPS was nearly -30. That's terrible news. They either abandon customers during their journey or do a lot wrong while customers experience the PSE. I also saw this company average these scores to make the overall NPS look better. Do not do that. We should be talking honestly about what is going on at each step. What can you improve if your NPS were 97? You can't rest or be complacent because you got a score you like. There are always things to fix or improve, and we must be proactive. Stepping stone, NPS. Surveys can be used as a stepping stone toward better and deeper research approaches. Same for NPS. We have survey results and a score, but what do we really know? What should we do next? Who's loyal? Who's likely to dump us? And what can be improved? When presenting or discussing NPS results, suggest a plan for qualitative research to fill in the customer intelligence gaps. Task and satisfaction scoring systems. There are scoring systems that claim to measure customer satisfaction or the user experience, but I find them to be poor choices. As we walk through each of the most popular ones, consider if the results are likely to be meaningful, actionable, or helpful. Also note that many of these request future behavior predictions from people who might figure out that you're fishing for positive answers. I have no idea how many healthy green vegetables I will eat next week, but I know my answer should probably be a high number so I sound like a healthy person. The System Usability Scale, SUS, asks users to rate statements that are written in a way that doesn't match how most people think or speak, such as, I found the various functions in this system were well integrated. Do users know what's integrated into what and whether that was done well? I thought there was too much inconsistency in this system. Does the average user notice consistency or inconsistency? Do they know what we intended to be consistent? I found this system very cumbersome to use. Do they think of systems as cumbersome? Do they want to admit that they struggled? I think that I would like to use this system frequently. This asks customers to predict what they might do in the future. It also assumes that frequency of use is important. 5 of the 10 statements in the System Usability Scale are about how easy the system is to learn. SuperQ, SUPR-Q, claims to be better than SUS. Its survey questions include, how likely are you to recommend this website to a friend or colleague? This is NPS. I will likely visit this website in the future. This requires a future behavior prediction. The information on the website is credible. The information on the website is trustworthy. Interestingly, this is focused on the information. In moderated research sessions, I often learn if the participant finds the company trustworthy and why or why not. One participant told me they didn't trust the company because they found the logo amateurish. If someone can find information trustworthy, but still find reasons to not completely trust the company, this scoring system might not capture that. SuperQ asks 2 questions about how easy it is to use the website. We know that people sometimes prefer to rate things as easy, thinking that they're being polite or telling you what you hope to hear. Perhaps they feel confident that they didn't make mistakes in your PSE. Sometimes in observational studies, we watch confident users think something is easy, but then they make mistakes and have no idea they did something incorrectly. SuperQ asks 2 questions about how attractive the website is. This is not a measurement of customer satisfaction. Customers can love your branding and visual design and still dislike your PSE or company. The single ease question appears after a task and asks people to rate from 1 to 7 how easy or difficult the task was. It's certainly simple, but is it too simple? If your average score this month is 4.3, what does that mean, and what will you do about it? There's the Usability Metric for User Experience, UMUX. Participants use a 7-point scale to rate these 4 things. This system's capabilities meet my requirements. This implies that users have a set of requirements in their heads and are checking your PSE for how much they match those. Using this system is a frustrating experience. This system is easy to use. It seems strange to have these 2 questions back to back. If both get high scores, what does that mean? You can use opposite survey questions to check if answers are consistent, but if we haven't hidden opposite questions in a longer survey, is it still a good survey technique, or does it make the survey seem awkward or manipulated? I have to spend too much time correcting things with this system. The focus might accidentally be on time. If you had to make corrections or fix mistakes as your task went along, but you didn't feel like you spent a lot of time doing that, you might give this question a low rating. But is that a fair reflection of how error-prone the system might be? User Zoom came up with QX Score, which combines a bunch of these so that you can have multiple measurable dimensions like trust, appearance, and NPS. Combining flawed questions or metrics can give you more data, but is it good data? If these scores aren't meaningful or actionable, they are probably not worth the time spent running and analyzing the surveys. Google's HEART Framework. The HEART framework measures happiness, engagement, adoption, retention, and task success. Web link cxcc.to/A132. Happiness is about satisfaction, ease of use, visual appeal, and likelihood to recommend. This sounds like NPS and other metrics discussed above. The scoring systems commonly in use now may or may not be accurately capturing how satisfied customers are. Also, happy customers might still dream of or need PSE improvements. Engagement is about frequency, intensity, or interaction depth over time. This might include input metrics like logins or page views, or our North Star metric, like the number of purchases made. Adoption and retention examine new versus existing or current users. Adoption is a good metric, but if we are adopting without retaining, then we must look at where we are customer peripheric. We must also be careful about what qualifies as retention. Someone returning to our website or logging in again might be a nice input metric, but it doesn't guarantee business or customer success. They might still not buy, not recommend, or be unhappy. Better retention metrics might be around trial users converting to paid, how long paid users stay with us, and how existing customers grow their usage or increase the frequency of purchasing or utilization. Task success and time on task can be good measurements that speak to user success, assuming that our users care about how long their task takes. Metrics related to task success are some of your most customer-centric metrics since they speak to how your CX facilitates or blocks people from accomplishing what they have set out to do. growth, retention, and attrition. Companies, especially startups, sometimes measure growth by traction and adoption, how many new customers we won in a period of time. We count app downloads, trial users, and freemium customers. We might even count mailing list subscriptions or website engagement. But do any of these new customers stay with us? Over time, are they purchasing more from us? We can measure our average customer lifespan, how long the average customer stays. We can calculate customer lifetime value, the average annual revenue per customer multiplied by the customer lifespan. Even if we couldn't convince customers to increase their annual spending, we would still want to increase their lifespan. Why are we having trouble retaining customers? Attrition is often due to one or more of these key elements. 1. Complaints, bugs, problems, and frustrations are unresolved. Companies often prioritize new features over fixing problems. They hope that they have released something good enough to keep users, but what we internally declare good enough is often not good enough for customers, especially those who are paying. Why stay with the company that releases broken PSE and deprioritizes improvements you requested if not demanded? 2. Value proposition. What does your PSE offer that competitors don't? Why should people try this, use it, and stay with it? How do you make customers' lives or tasks faster, easier, more efficient, or better? How have you priced what you offer? 3. Poor PSE. There are so many ways that PSE can be considered low quality or value by customers. You can think of multiple times you started with PSE and then canceled, downgraded, or uninstalled, probably within weeks. Our company might be aggressively chasing our business goals and trying to make customers take the actions the business wants them to take. But we've put customers in the periphery. We are not facilitating their tasks or what they would choose for themselves. Our customers are intelligent people who can tell when our company didn't care what they needed. 4. Disappointing human experiences. Even where the PSE are decent, human interactions can be deal breakers. We have all struggled with support reps who couldn't help us or seemed to not care, leaving us without a resolution. I once didn't renew a SaaS subscription because I hated dealing with that company's salespeople. Every interaction with a customer is a chance to improve or hurt a relationship. End of list. Consider the North Star metrics we discussed earlier. Uber might count rides per month, but what percentage of those are from new customers? How many customers are repeat customers who we have retained? The company mentioned earlier, who had a -30 NPS at contract renewal time, had a strong sales organization that could sell anything and always win new customers. But they would have to be sales wizards since they frequently lose new customers down the road. If we have noticeable attrition, we can't be complacent that sales will find more new customers. We still need to fix our PSE, support, or anything we find is causing dissatisfaction. This will decrease our cost of acquisition, which is the total our company spends to win one new customer. Your growth strategy can't be, we will release a steady stream of cool ideas and hope that at least some of these are good enough to attract and retain customers. Our growth numbers can be deceptive if we focus mostly or only on adoption. Growth and retention require longer-term metrics. Growth should ultimately be measured in lower cost of acquisition and higher customer retention rate, the percentage of customers who stay with you after a certain period of time. Try it. Quality in the short and long term. J.D. Power measures the initial quality of vehicles. Their PP100 score is the number of problems experienced per 100 vehicles in the first 90 days of ownership. What about quality and customer experiences after 90 days? J.D. Power also measures vehicle dependability, which examines experiences over 3 years of ownership. At your company, which criteria could be used to create ratings for shorter-term initial quality and longer-term dependability? What scores would be good enough to create satisfaction and loyalty? Might you be able to correlate these ratings with customer lifespan or lifetime value? What types of customer-centric actions will you plan and execute to improve these scores? Reducing attrition with behavior triggers. When measuring and monitoring PSE, we look for traction, adoption, conversion, dollar amounts, frequencies, etc. What would it look like to utilize tracking and data science more proactively? I once tried for over an hour to buy a long weekend cruise online. No matter what I tried, I got a generic error message at the last step of the checkout that offered no help or solution. I logged into my account from multiple browsers, but couldn't buy from any of them. I tried different payment cards, all with credit available for the purchase. I couldn't pay for the trip in full, nor could I put a courtesy hold or a down payment on the trip. I was at a dead end on the cruise company's website, so I called customer support, who could only offer me the cruise at double the price. The following day, I received a cart recovery email reminding me to book now. I tried, but still couldn't check out. There are stories, often told by marketing and sales, when they see abandoned carts, incomplete checkouts, and ineffective cart recovery emails, including, "Customers like Debbie don't have enough money for a cruise. Debbie just changed her mind. Debbie's demographic doesn't always buy cruises on their first visit to the site. We have lots of people abandoning carts. They are tire kickers and never intended to buy a cruise." Without research to tell us what target customers' intentions or reasons are, this is speculation and imagination. What do we really know? More importantly, could we have saved any of these sales? What if we were proactive? Can we create algorithms to proactively help struggling customers just in time? Consider creating what I call behavior triggers. Help people before they become sad metrics. Help them before you make incorrect guesses and assumptions about their behavior. For example, 1. What if the second purchase failure and error message triggered a live help chat from someone who could see, through their support interface, what I was working on, honor that price, and help convert me into a paying customer? A first checkout attempt makes me look serious and like I'm not kicking tires. The second checkout attempt is generous of me. Hurry up and save the sale. Step in when things go wrong for me a second time while we still have momentum. Once I leave, I might buy from a competitor. 2. Can the system catch me logging in from more than one browser trying to buy the same thing repeatedly? Logging in from another browser indicates that I'm a serious customer trying to give you my money. Save the sale. 3. Can the system notice that I'm trying multiple channels? I logged into my account, so you know who I am. I tried to buy and couldn't. I called customer support, who accessed my account, so you know who I am. This customer seems way more serious about buying this as she's tried 2 ways to do this. Save the sale. Calling people you notice are struggling in your PSE would be creepy, but in digital products, you could pop up a live chat with humans, not chatbots, acknowledge they are having trouble, and offer to help. Let it peek up from a bottom right corner and allow people to close it or engage. Do not pop up something large on the screen, like we often see mailing list pop-ups, interrupting people or creating obstacles. Build your behavior trigger to ensure that you only poke people once per session. If someone doesn't want help, but sets off the triggers more than once, don't keep bugging them. Not every behavior trigger should lead to a chat pop-up. Here are some other behavior triggers that could create action in your organization. Do you ever worry that a customer exporting or downloading all their data is thinking of leaving? Set up a behavior trigger to notify a person or team at your company when this happens. Proactively reach out and see what that customer needs. How about when someone cancels auto-renew? That is a bad sign that they might leave. Let's not wait until they leave to learn what went wrong. Reach out and see if that customer can be helped and retained. If a feature isn't being utilized as expected, this might trigger a team to spin up qualitative research. We can learn more about why people used or didn't use this feature and what their unmet needs are. Someone might decide that this sounds too expensive or not worth it. Why spend time and money to potentially convert 5 customers per day? They're just edge cases. If 5 people per day had the problem I had on the cruise website, that's $6 million in lost sales each year. Would a $500,000 behavior triggers project be worth it? What if this project also decreases negative word of mouth? What about future sales lost? Someone who loved a cruise with that company might sign up for another. What at first seems like small losses or edge cases ripple out to sales worth saving and customers we could win. 11 Pillars Survey. We can measure how we are doing with the 11 Pillars of Customer-Centricity. Form a cross-functional committee and have everybody in product, engineering, and CX or UX take the survey periodically and anonymously. Calculate the scores and compare over time. The downsides to this idea include surveys often being flawed, and you might not have the same people responding over time. Self-assessment can suffer from biases like people rating their team as doing better than it is. The latest version of my survey can be taken online at cxcc.to/A133. There are 20 rating questions and the final score ranges from 0 to 200. My survey tool randomizes the order of the first set of 15 questions and then randomizes the order of the 5 final questions as they are displayed in 2 sets. Positively framed questions like, how often did your cross-functional team track potential and current risks to the project and its outcomes, are scored as 0 for never, 1 for rarely, 5 for sometimes, 8 for often, and 10 for constantly. Negatively framed questions like, how often did your cross-functional team prioritize the speed or velocity of work over the quality of ideas and solutions, are scored as 10 for never, 8 for rarely, 5 for sometimes, 1 for often, and 0 for constantly. The last 5 questions about comfort and confidence are scored as 0 for not at all, 1 for a little, 5 for somewhat, 8 for mostly, and 10 for very. The final 2 questions are open text fields. The first asks for a few words to describe the culture, allowing you to create a word cloud. I avoid using the word values because people usually associate company values with positive words and might not answer with negative words. The last open text field asks for suggestions and improvements. Consider running this survey or your own variation quarterly. CXTM, trademark symbol, Customer Experience Task Measurement. I'm also working on a quantitative measurement of task experience based on an intercept survey after the user has completed a discrete task. Such tasks might include registration, checkout, applying for a job, or performing a search. We can gently ask, hey, you just did this thing. Can we please get your feedback on how that went? Intercepting and interrupting are risky since you don't want to distract users from their tasks. Experiment with this and see what you can learn and measure. To be less interruptive, make sure this is a small message peeking up from the bottom corner of the page and not a large pop-up or modal blocking people from their next steps. CXTM will help us know a little about how this task might go wrong, though we should still do qualitative research to ensure that we correctly define customer problems and understand their tasks. You can try the latest version of my survey at cxcc.to/A182. The first question is based on UX heuristics, the 4 horsemen of bad CX, and Larry Marine's task dimensions. There are 8 dimensions here that people can rate as never, rarely, sometimes, often, and constantly. My survey tool randomizes the order of these dimensions. Confusing, lacking in options or flexibility, took a lot of thought, unclear what to do during the task, too many steps, terms or images didn't make sense, required information I didn't have, and frustrating. It then asks if you were able to accomplish your task with choices of yes, partially, or no. There is an open text field asking how this experience could be improved. These statements are all negatively framed, which runs the risk of biasing people toward feeling more negatively about their experience than they might have. We are looking for opportunities to improve and not fishing for praise. I would rather bias people to be harsher when reflecting upon the experience than bias them toward positives like, "This was easy," "I would use this often," or "I wouldn't need help to use this." Score each of the 8 dimensions 0 for never, 1 for rarely, 5 for sometimes, 8 for often, and 10 for constantly. Since all statements are negative situations, the less often people experience them, the higher the score. For the question about accomplishing the task, yes gets 20 points, partially gets 10 points, and no gets 0 points. Scores range from 0 to 100. You can average the scores for that individual task for a period such as monthly or quarterly. We can also calculate the standard deviation to see how varied the scores are across participants. Having scores for individual tasks or workflows allows us to compare this over time, month to month, quarter to quarter, and year to year. Are they improving? We might also use the scoring in our prioritization. Time to CX resolution. Call centers have a metric called time to resolution, which measures the time it takes a customer service organization to resolve a single customer service ticket once it's been opened. It's usually an average over a period of time. What about the real time to a real resolution? Measure from when we are first aware of a problem or pain point to when that has been successfully resolved and is no longer a complaint or problem for anyone. Measure the time between discovering that we had a bug or CX debt and releasing the real fix so that the bug or debt no longer exists. Note that the date when you first knew of the CX debt might be during design tasks well before the feature or PSE went live. Every problem is different, but we can track this over time for what we consider to be small, medium, and large issues. ROI, Modeling Success and Savings. Human Factors International has online ROI calculators you can use to model the potential ROI of a project. Web link, cxcc.to/A134. One example is the ROI of increasing productivity. Let's say that we have 200 staff who perform a task 10 times a day, every day. They are paid $40,000 per year. We plan to spend $250,000 internally on a project that will shave 1 minute off this task every time they do it. We anticipate that the benefits from this investment will last us 3 years. The calculator shows the total gain at over $356,000, more than paying for the $250,000 project. This might be time staff can spend on something else, or it might be staff you can shift to other tasks or projects. You might be able to assign fewer workers to this task. Another tool I find interesting is Geru.com, G-E-R-U. Aimed at marketers, it's a funnel simulator where you can do math on traffic, conversions, and other actions that lead to revenue. Figure 18, screenshot from Geru, modeling how conversion rates might increase and affect revenue when we improve website experiences. Explained below. The above screenshot models the same website funnel from the home page to the product page and into the cart and checkout. Each of the two models imagines that we are getting 100,000 homepage visits per month and not doing anything to increase that traffic. This example doesn't model the effects of improved marketing or SEO. This models CX or UX improving our website's ability to capture people's attention, communicate the value proposition, and make purchasing easier than before. Scenario 1 is our current experience. 30% of people hitting the home page visit the product page. 10% of people on that product page put $500 of items into their cart. This might be a single purchase, a subscription payment, or represent a longer customer value. Scenario 1 imagines that 50% of people check out. 1.5% converted. 100,000 visitors hit the site, and 1,500 made a $500 purchase. This equals $750,000 in revenue. Scenario 2 is a possible future state where we have made some improvements to multiple steps in the funnel. 35% of the people hitting the home page visit the product page. 15% of those people put $500 of items into their cart. 55% complete the checkout. This nearly doubles us to a 2.9% conversion rate. 2,889 people spent $500, equaling $1,444,500 in revenue. Scenario 2 might feel like a big jump or a distant future state, but how much time and money would we have to invest in doubling our revenue? As these figures are monthly, even investing $2 million would pay for itself quickly, and then we realize more profit. Good OKR, Research Exposure Hours. Research exposure means the hours non-CX staff watch live or recorded CX research sessions. This is an excellent way for our teammates to see the who, what, where, when, why, and how firsthand without being responsible for world-class research planning, recruiting, interviewing, analysis, synthesis, or reporting. Some people suggest that exposure hours are also used for CX design. Is that the number of hours a product manager sits and watches someone do their information architecture and interaction design work? Nobody wants that. Sidebar: don't go in the basement. You'll know that watching the sessions or videos affects teammates when they react like people watching a horror movie and the next victim is about to walk right into the killer's obvious trap. Teammates will cringe and shout as people stumble through our PSE. End of sidebar.